The night in Kura village had been quiet, almost unnervingly so. The moon cast a pale silver over the undulating hills of Plateau State, and the smell of wood smoke curled lazily above mud brick homes. Children had drifted to sleep after evening prayers, and their parents lingered in doorways, talking in hushed tones about the coming planting season. At 1:14 a.m., the first shots cracked through the stillness. Dogs barked in panic, women screamed. The attackers came from the dark edges of the farmland, shadows carrying rifles and machetes, their voices sharp with commands in a language most of the villagers didn't understand. Some shouted slogans that sent a cold shiver down spines. Others moved without words, herding people toward the center of the village. Daniel, the village school teacher, had been awake grading papers by lantern light when he heard the sound. He blew out the flame and pulled his wife Mariam to the floor. The rumble of motorbikes drew closer. He knew what was happening. They had heard rumors for weeks. Neighboring Christian communities burned. Survivors left with little but the clothes they wore. The word jihad, whispered in fear. By the time Daniel led his family through the back window toward the cassava fields, gunfire had erupted in every direction. The attackers worked methodically, house by house, lighting torches, hurling them through windows. Roofs hissed and cracked as fire took hold. The air filled with the acrid bite of burning thatch and the metallic tang of blood. In the chaos, an old man named Luca, the unofficial historian of Kura, stumbled toward the church bell tower. He pulled the rope with trembling hands, sending a desperate, echoing clang across the valley. It was the alarm that had saved them in past crises. This time, it only told the invaders where the last holdouts hid. The church, St. Stephen's, was the heart of the village, its walls lined with family Bibles, faded photographs, and the wooden pews Luca's grandfather had carved. Within minutes, flames licked its steeple. The cross at the top glowed red before falling into the inferno. Daniel and Mariam crouched with their children in a dry gully, watching the destruction. They could hear the cries of neighbors, the sickening thud of boots against bodies. The attackers took livestock, sacks of grain, anything of value. Before retreating, they left behind a silence so heavy it pressed against the chest. By dawn, the village was unrecognizable. Charred walls where homes once stood, blackened skeletons of mango trees, the church reduced to smoldering ash. Survivors wandered in shock, their faces streaked with soot and tears. The smell of loss hung thick. In Jos City, news of the massacre spread quickly, carried by radio and trembling phone calls. Aid workers loaded trucks with blankets and medicine, pastors organized vigils, and journalists arrived to record the devastation. But for the people of Kura, no broadcast could capture the weight of what had been taken. Fathers, mothers, children, neighbors, the sense of safety that once defined their nights. Daniel stood among the ruins that evening, a borrowed pen in hand, writing down the names of the dead in his school ledger. He would not let them vanish into silence. Each name was a memory, a face, a voice he could still hear. He didn't know if help would come, or if justice would be served. But as the sun set over the plateau, he made a quiet vow. Kura's story would be told. Not as a statistic, not as another forgotten tragedy, but as the lived pain of a community that had been shattered and still dared to hope. And somewhere beyond the hills, other villages still slept, unaware that the night could come for them too. Subscribe for more videos.